Smith to say our morning prayer.
Oh, Mona Chunga, come to you at this time, Mona. I say you could bless each and every one of us. Bless our mourners, bless all the ones that are sick, the ones that are less fortunate than us. I say you could continue to bless our medicines. Bless all the things that we use in our everyday walk of life, Mona. I say you could take care of the elders that are out there. I say you could bless the ones that are in the nursing homes, the ones that are in hospitals. I say you could bless the ones that are incarcerated behind locked doors and bars. Mona Chunga, I say you could bless all of our soldier boys and soldier girls on all the things that they need. I said you could bless them with it. And then Moana Chunga, I said you could continue to help us try to find a better way for this tribe, for people from the youngest to the oldest. And if there's anything I left out in this word of prayer, I said you could take care of it for us. Oh,
Thank you, Isaac. Council, we have an agenda that's been prepared, and we have a couple additions. Under ratify 5 signatures, we have an addition of 15 ARPA budget mod, as well as 16 early Head Start grad match. And at the end of tribal council items, I would like to ask for an executive session as number 2. Do we have any further additions to the agenda? Do we have a motion to approve
The executive session is regards to item 2. Did you say?
No, it's just an executive session with
okay.
tribal council. It's regarding Little Priest Tribal College, but it's
Okay.
we're not going to meet with the board yet.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve agenda.
Motion by Coley. Do we have a second? Second by
Second.
Rona. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 8-0-0. Let's see, we've approved the agenda, we've had our prayer. I'd just like to, before we move on, say thank you to Communications Department for hosting a community event and all the partners that came together, as well as I hope you all had a nice weekend with your families, and we're ready to kick off this month and work towards powwow, so it's going to be a great month. Our first item is the reading of the minutes, and we have June 21st, 22 mid-monthly meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move it.
We have a motion by Kenny. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Isaac. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 8-0-0. We have a wealth of ratifying 5 signatures. This is due to meetings being postponed, so we will run through those 16 ratifications. The first one, request waiver of limits to utilize tribally appropriated senior home repair. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move it.
We have a motion by Kenny to ratify. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Coley. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 8-0-0. Number 2, Higher Education Department. Request a change of scope to their ARPA budget and project. Do we have a motion?
I move it, Madam Chair.
We have a motion by Kenny. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Isaac. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 8-0-0. Number 3, adopt resolution 22- ratify the adoption of resolution 22-122, American Indian Alaska Native Early Head Start 2022 grant. Do we have a motion?
I move it, Madam Chair.
We have a motion by Kenny. Do you want to second that, Rona? Second by Rona. Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 8-0-0. Number 4, adopt resolution 22-123, FY22 Early Head Start American Indian Alaska Native Supplement. Do we have a motion to ratify? Motion by Louis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Isaac. Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 8-0-0. Number 5, adopt resolution 22-124 FY23 Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations. Do we have a motion?
Move it.
Motion by Isaac. Do we have a second? Second by Rona. Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 8-0-0. Number 6, approve the 2022 election board and eligible voters list as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Isaac. Do we have a second?
Second.
Just seeing if I was paying attention. Do we have a second?
Trying to catch you.
Second.
Second by Coley.
Catch you napping.
Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 8-0. Number 7, adopt resolution 22-125 Winnebago Tribe Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations, Plan of Operations. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Isaac. Do we have a second? Second by Rona. Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 8-0. Number 8, approval to approach Winnebago Tribe entities, departments, and organizations to help for a family-friendly community event on Sunday, July 3rd at 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Isaac. Do we have a second? Second by Rona. Discussion. Just say thank you again to everybody that had a role in that, specifically the finance department, because Rona had to work with her team to get all those things done in a real quick manner. So, thank you for that, Rona. Objection. Motion carried 8-0. Number 9, adopt resolution 22-126 Sacred Children Care Center North Construction Project FY22. Do we have a motion? Motion by Rona. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Isaac. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 8-0. Number 10, approve Worth Entertainment for 3-Dog Night contract. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Louis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Isaac. Discussion. Objection.
Should we, I know usually we don't have these.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. Rona just reminded me that we don't do our promotions and such on the air, and usually our treasurer's report, ratifications, and motions take place in the treasurer's report, which is not a streamed meeting because it is the protected information of the tribe. So I will, if the council, if it's acceptable, I can just do those in executive session, or how do you want to do that, Rona?
Table them.
You want to table them until Thursday's meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have a motion to table items 11 through 12 until the next scheduled treasurer's report?
Send it.
We have a motion by Isaac. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Coley. Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 8-0. Thank you for that reminder, Rona. So moving on to number 13. Adopt resolution 22-127 FY22 Nebraska Department of Transportation Winnebago Tribal Transit Capital Project. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Rona. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Isaac. Discussion.
What is that project?
It's in your packet.
It's in your packet.
This is
Okay.
the, if it's a capital project, it is probably having to do with buying or building. Let's see.
I think it is the building.
Okay, I'll find it, Madam Chair.
No. It is for, the goal of this grant is to support and improve the expansion of the Winnebago Tribal Transit and services to the public. The successful completion of this grant will facilitate increased ridership and access to transportation services by Winnebago residents and members of the public. Grant-funded improvements of the program, along with the replacement of its aging vehicles and purchase of new vehicles, will increase overall patron safety and access and bring overall, so they're buying vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Objection? Motion carried 8-0. Number 14, approve the clothing card distribution schedule, budget and application as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Louis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Brian. So during discussion, Rona, would you like to share the details of the clothing allowance?
Okay, yeah,
So people could just hear it?
yeah. So during the planning of this year's clothing vouchers. We had several cards left over that already have our $500 on it. So this year, we're gonna combine the clothing voucher for $350. And then we're gonna also include the code allowance that we had like in December. So all of these cards will be loaded with 500 per child, and they should be used for clothing and the winter items that you'll be purchasing. So this year it's $500. Distribution will be August 2nd and 3rd. More details to come from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rona, for sharing those details, and thank you to the council for your generosity. Some of this additional funding is one-time funny ARPA money, so in the future, it may not always be $500, so just want to note that too. So let's see. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Objection. Motion carried 800. 15, ARPA budget mod. And this is the what's that last one?
It was about the, approving 1.5
This one.
million to the ARPA budget for our side of the emergency.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So this five signature number 15 is approved budget modification. Budget modifications to the large construction project increased to 1.5 million. Budget modification number 2, increased minor clothing allowance, increased 200,842 and 50 cents. So that's a budget mod to take care of those $500 cards. Do we have a motion to ratify?
Motion to ratify.
We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Louis. Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 800. Thank you, council. That brings us to number 16, and that's the early Head Start graduation match. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Rona. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Isaac. Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 800. Thank you, council. That brings us to new business, and we have the Winnebago Gaming Development Commission resignation. We understand one of our board members, very happy that he got a new position and he is no longer able to serve on the Winnebago Gaming Commission. So do we have a motion to accept Thomas Snowball's resignation from the Winnebago Gaming Commission and a motion to re-advertise for one seat?
Motion
Make
to
that
accept Thomas Snow.
Okay, so we had a motion by Coley. Was it to those both actions? Accept it and then re-advertise? Do-
Second.
Second by Eric.
It's the development
So that's the Winnebago Gaming Development Commission,
corporation.
or corporation, sorry. Sorry, Winnebago Gaming Development Commission, sorry about that. Any further discussion? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 800. Thank you, council.
I have to abstain.
Okay, let me back it up. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye or signify by raising your hand. Rona, Lorelei, Coley, Isaac.
Aye.
Eric, opposed, abstain,
Abstain.
Louis,
Abstain.
and Kenny. Motion carried 602. Thank you, council. Under old business, we have tribal court judge and attorney contracts. We have a contract in here. And is the next number 128? Is that the next where we're at? Teresa, are we at 128 for resolution numbers?
Yeah, that's the last one we have on here.
I'm checking.
So, council, in the meantime, this is the contract we had some email traffic on Connor Orr. Okay, Lorelei.
Yes, it's 128, Tori.
Okay, thank you.
Just for background, remember when his contracts came up before, the council wanted to hear the tribal court assessment results before approving this? And I wanted to put the recommendations for the tribal court assessment on the CEO report. So that way, there's some kind of plan to implement what those recommendations were.
I'm like,
One of those recommendations is we need more public defender time and we need more prosecutor time to make the court processes more timely and just for our tribal members. So this guy would be more prosecutor time. But overall, we also have to consider more public defender time too. So I just wanted to give you the background of that. But you guys' motion was to table his contracts until after you heard the tribal court assessment. So that's why it's on today on the regular. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorelei, for your recap on that. So the first one, we have Resolution 22-128, approving independent contract agreement for legal services for Connor Orr, and that's for Child Support Enforcement Program. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion to adopt
Is the
resolution?
court supportive, is the total court system supportive of this individual?
They advanced this to the table, so I think they are the ones that would like it approved. And then from here, we'll have to send it to the BIA to run through that process.
I move it, Madam Chair.
We have a motion by Kenny to adopt resolution 22-128. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Coley. Discussion.
I ask that because you need continuity down there, and if someone don't fit in with the system, it just convolutes it. So,
Good comment. I think he's coming in at good timing, you know, as there's rebuilding and new leadership, so I hope it works out for him.
convolute is a word I was trying to say.
Any further discussion? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 8-0-0. The next one is also for Connor Orr, Resolution 22-129, approving independent contract agreement for legal services for Connor Orr, Deputy Tribal Prosecutor. Do we have a motion?
I move it, Madam Chair.
We have a motion by Kenny. Do we have a second? Second by Louis. Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 8-0-0. Thank you, council. That brings us to enrollment, and we have a resolution to adopt some applicants. We have, that would be resolution 130. Do we have a motion to adopt resolution 22-130 at numbers A3771, A3772, A3773, A3774?
Is this all one family? I guess, huh?
These applicants are all, yes, look like they come from one family.
Okay, and what caused them all to come up at the same time? Was it something that wasn't done?
Well, there's been ongoing discussion on some of the criteria, and we've had legal opinion on some of the language in the Constitution that were kind of a barrier to the family.
Okay. Okay.
So we have a motion. Do we have a motion to adopt resolution 22-130?
Make that motion.
We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second? We have a second by Rona. Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 8-0-0. Thank you, council. That brings us to our tribal council items, and the first one on the agenda is Atlas. Good morning, LaDonna.
She has a board member too that can come up here.
Okay.
Nancy Gillis.
Good morning, Nancy.
Do you have some material for us?
No.
Okay, okay.
Okay, good morning. Let's turn it over to you.
Tap on it? Okay. Yeah. I don't have a report for you because I'm wondering what happened with this grant, what kind of information that you found out. And you know why it hasn't
Okay.
happened.
Yes, we did get the opportunity to meet with WCHS, and that was one of our topics of discussion. And we learned that the grant has not hired the personnel to fulfill those duties.
Yeah.
And we had asked that they make a more concentrated effort and even use a headhunter if they have to. And so that was the last report that we had gotten. And then in the meantime, we had also gotten a report that Atlas isn't eligible for a DOJ grant.
We're
And
not eligible?
You're not eligible for a DOJ grant. I guess you have to be eligible. And so Joy checked their website or however you check if you're eligible. And also the tribe has already awarded that to the alcohol program or to WCHS from the tribe.
Okay, I don't understand, what that means, because what we're asking is that the Winnebago tribe subaward that to Atlas the same way they did with the hospital.
But it's already been subawarded.
Well, it can be changed, because that's exactly what happened with the tour grant. That was to the alcohol program, and they took that from the alcohol program and they put it up to YCIC. And that really screwed up our whole plan, because we had the tour would have been continuing our outreach, and then the CTAS would have been helping us to get detox for our people in Omaha or wherever we had to take them. And why that happened, I don't know. I don't know who did that. But I know one day Crystal came out and she says, well, the tour grant's going to YCIC. And we said, what? And she said, well, they gave me a choice. Which one do I want? So I took the 5-year one. And that's how that happened.
Esther, would you be able to respond to some of the questions on the how the Winnebago tribe subawards grants and how? I guess I only can share the information that we received from our meeting with WCHS, and I don't have comment on if it can be undone. Do you want to come up and use one of the mics, because I just want to make sure that council can hear. Brian, is it okay if she sits in your spot? All right, please come up this.
Yeah, I'm not there.
I'll do my best to try to answer. I don't want to say that I'm an expert on the subject, but anytime that we have to do a modification to any award, any subaward agreement, there would have to be an agreement, first of all, with the party that we already have the subaward agreement with, that they would be okay with terminating that agreement. That would be the WCHS right now. Currently, they've not indicated to us if they are interested in terminating that award. We would also have to look at the scope of the new subaward agreement. We would have to also reach out to, in this case, Department of Justice, and inform the program officers of the change of direction that we would be going with the grant. And then there would also be questions about whether or not the subawardee meets certain criteria. One is the financial system that you guys use to manage your accounting and all of that. We would have to look at that and make sure that that's up to standard. And I don't know that off the top of my head to know if that's, where it would need to be or not. So it's a lot more complicated than just coming to the council and the council saying okay, because we have to do a lot of additional steps with external entities to okay all of that as well. So
Of course, I understand that, but I know that it can be done. And this table, we entered into a MOU with you guys, with the CARES money, and we fulfilled that MOU. So I think that even if you just put the alcohol program back under the Winnebago tribe, we can still work with them that way. I don't understand why that ever happened, because there's no outreach services, there's no other kind of services since that alcohol program has gone under the hospital. So why would you want to keep it that way and deny the services our people need? They're not getting services from there. It's just point blank. That's, we need to keep the focus on the people that need our help, that aren't getting the help. So how do we work together to get a program like Atlas to get that money so that we can give the people those services our way, our traditional customs and our spirituality and the different things that I think Coley mentioned that. This textbook stuff that the government puts out, that's not working for us. We have our own way. So you can't keep going and doing this if it's not working. That's Einstein's definition of insanity. Why keep doing this if it's not working? And we have ways to work with our people. And in the short 2 years that we did have the tour grant, we were very successful. That's why you got the CTAS grant to begin with, because they used our numbers through there. So, however, is Joy on the? No. Is Joy here?
No, we can invite Joy to the discussion. But one of the things that I think that that Esther alluded to was, and I want to touch on this, is the financial fitness of the Winnebago tribe.
It would still.
And that we have clean audits, and that all the grant compliance leads and feeds that endeavor. And without getting into personnel discussions, there were grant compliance issues with the last administration of some of the grants that you're mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little difficult to ask the alcohol program to turn over a grant to Atlas when there's personnel that had issues with another grant in compliance. So
I was an outreach worker. I had nothing to do with the grant.
So, like I said, I don't want to get into the specifics of the personnel. This is an executive session right now, but from what I can gather, I guess, from discussion or comment, and maybe those folks aren't all here with us, but Atlas is not an eligible sub-awardee, I guess, in summary. And you're
Okay,
not
so-
a tribal entity, and you don't report or have the same mechanisms that the tribe uses to, I guess, keep their good name. I'm just grasping here, but I think everyone was in the discussion. If you guys want to weigh in, to me, what the final word seemed to be is that Atlas does not meet the criteria or financial fitness to be a sub-awardee. And that's all I have to share. If somebody else picks something up from those discussions, please weigh in.
Okay, so how do we get to be that? Getting back to the focus again, our people are the ones that we're trying to help. We need to work together to make that happen. If that CTAS was going to happen at the hospital, it would have happened by now. I don't know how this table can just let that not happen. It's cost the lives of our people. And if there's not anything more important than that for us working together than just say we're not eligible, well, let's make it happen. Let's find out. Let's work together. It's not just a program, it's lives at stake.
I want to just ask the question. It's not so much that it's something Atlas did wrong as it is that they don't meet the requirements on the other side.
Well,
Is that how it is?
Well, I'll give you an example. The tribe had bought Atlas a vehicle with the CARES money, and Atlas wanted to sell that vehicle back to the tribe. And they said, "You mean the one we gave you guys?" And they said, "Well, that is not allowable under the CARES Act language and rules. And if you sell that vehicle, then you owe the tribe $25,000 for the purchase of that vehicle." And so that's just an example of you can't just do things the way you want to do it because we're bound by the restrictions of the funding that we receive. And it's not good. You know, like we accept these federal dollars, these dollars from outside entities, then we have to abide by their rules. Unrestricted funding, tribal appropriations, that's a whole different discussion, you know, but this federal money, these money that comes with strings, we have to follow that. I don't have any other explanation other than that.
Well, we did ask. We didn't just do it. We
But-
have the title to it. We could have,
So,
but we asked the Winnebago
So they
tribe.
could have, and they had willingness to. So that's just, I mean, like, I don't know what else to say. That I don't know why entity won't partner with Atlas. You know, Atlas predates my time at the table. I can't explain why people don't want to partner or give Atlas funding. And I don't think that's this table's burden to carry. That's the relationships Atlas made.
But who do we serve? That's what we're getting back to. We need to all focus on serving the people. The people. That's who our focus needs to be, not whose obligation it is. How are we ever going to help our people if we don't work together? So instead of putting up more walls, how do we help each other?
Does anybody from the table want to comment? Eric, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Good morning, Madonna and whoever else is there. That I think this subject does warrant some more discussion on finding a solution on working together somehow. I see we're coming up to the fiscal year. Maybe we can start some planning for next year to work together and get Atlas some money or do something, because I know our priority is helping our enrolled membership. So that's just kind of something, idea, a direction we could think about for the future coming down the road, because we're getting to the end of the fiscal year and the money's getting a little bit low. So just maybe some future planning, some talks offline after this meeting on how we can do a MOU, help the Alice workers be part of the tribe so we can move forward and help our enrolled members. That's just kind of a thought, a direction. You know, if we can work together and help our enrolled membership, I think the better off we'll be. Thank you.
I have some comments.
And some people find a way to get around that, to keep going forward. But the PTSD is still there. And for others, they can't get past that, and they don't know why they feel the way they do. And so we don't really know the patient load in our tribal population, how big that is. We don't know that. And we don't even know if we're providing enough substance abuse funding for our alcohol program because we don't know what the real numbers are. But as far as I know, and I'm only speaking from my own relative, when we reached out to them, we got the help we needed. And so we can't just say they're not doing outreach. But nobody is saying, LaDonna, that you're not doing it. I know you do outreach. I know this. But Atlas isn't a tribal entity. And the Department of Justice does not allow outside of the tribe funding to be sent outside of the tribe. Atlas is whatever Atlas is, but it's not a tribal entity. We had more leeway with the CARES Act funding by entering into an MOA for a specific project, and that was to help feed our people during the pandemic. And that was all done good, but that's a different pot of money. Each federal agency has its own requirements. And with the Department of Justice, we don't have that same leeway we had under the CARES Act. I'm just trying to explain it so then you can see that even if we wanted to, if we transferred subawarded to Atlas, the Department of Justice will take its funds back. That's what, I'm just trying to get that across to you because I know you care, LaDonna. You and Atlas, I know that. But I'm just trying to tell you truthfully what I see is going, the whole background. And I'm doing this respectfully. Thank you.
Yeah. I'd just like to say that I'm not saying the alcohol program isn't doing their work. I'm saying that grants sitting over there at the hospital, stagnant, could be more outreach. That's what I was saying.
But they're telling you that federal dollars won't even allow that, even if it's just sitting there.
Yeah. Okay, so HCCDC is a tribal entity, correct? How do we make Atlas a tribal entity?
HCCDC, I think, is separate from the tribe in that it's part of a corporation that belongs to the tribe.
HCCDC
Can't hear you, Kenny.
HCCDC is a nonprofit, a 501c3, and they have a board of directors.
And so does Atlas.
So
We have a 501c3. We have a board of directors. So why can't Atlas be a tribal entity?
I don't know. Do you want to come underneath the management of the Winnebago tribe?
The old board didn't, but the new board has no problem with it.
I think from hearing because I'm on the HCCDC board and we've talked about how we work with Atlas, but what the HCCDC board was not willing to do was to put their name on a grant and subaward it to HCCDC. I mean to Atlas, and so I can't. This is what I mean. Like I can't speak to the underlying reason why these entities or these programs don't have a willingness to work with Atlas. And I don't know if the council has all that information to just, with the sweep of a motion to, I guess, undo all that.
Tori.
But maybe we could meet with these folks to figure out why won't they help Atlas? I know at one time we appropriated money to Atlas for your mileage, right? So we have appropriated money to Atlas. And it was when you asked for that, and we gave it to you.
Okay.
I think Louis had a
Who
question.
from,
Okay, hold on, LaDonna, because we're getting
okay,
off track here.
sorry.
Louis has a comment kind of on what was being discussed. So Louis, before we get away from that topic or what you raised, go turn it to you.
One of the bargaining chips that Donna was using is talks about changing the structure back so that the money would be going to the alcohol program and we would reverse our decision. I'm not in favor of reversing our decision to have it the way it is now. We got to make it work. I'm not in favor of reversing that position. We have to recognize that funding sources dictate the way we spend the money. We got to follow them. We won't have the money. And we've got to take a cold, hard look at the alcohol program and the 12 clans, because we're not getting patients in the hospital that we should. So I'm concerned about the accreditation for the hospital. That's the first priority on my list. And I'll do anything I can to see that it happens. It's important to me. You lose your accreditation, you lose your federal stream of money. Tribal colleges have gone down because they lost their accreditation. So it's important. And the second thing is that I hate to leave, but I have a cardiologist appointment. So I have to leave the meeting. Thank you.
Question to dig a little deeper into some of these questions or concerns that LaDonna's highlighting. Coley.
Maybe we do have a problem. If there's just one complaint, one person out there, who hasn't gotten help, is frustrated with the alcohol program, then I need to see that. We need to see these, these documentations, these reports, these complaints, and more than likely, how things are going with the Winnebago tribe. Maybe we do have a problem. Look at that grant sat idle. Those job positions sat idle. That's documented stuff in those emails. They didn't hire those positions for 2 years, 1 year, 2 years. I even asked, somebody suggested a 3/4 way for the house down here in the Smith house. And there's emails. I don't know how old those emails are that we're working on it. We're working. How long is that going to take to accomplish that? To get that staffed? What's the problem? Maybe we need more meetings. We need more because I just want to say maybe we do have a problem. Maybe we do with how things are going right now with the hospital staff, the alcohol program, and so on. And somehow we can get Atlas in there if they're willing to work on the game plan that is set, if we can accomplish that and figure that out, where our problems are, and who really wants to help our people, our sick people. And if there is 1 to 12 people who are willing to step up and that is frustrated and wants help but hasn't gotten it. So I'm willing to get into that and, to help our people, that need help and want help. So it can open up, and it should, because I do think that we do have a problem. We may have one, just like some of our other programs that we discovered over the years. That's all. Thanks.
Tori,
Thanks, Coley.
Tori, I have a comment, and I kind of want to speak on behalf of the church, because it's because of Atlas that the church has been able to have a lot of repairs that were never completed because of the funding or the giving part to the church. And Atlas came through with building repairs and utility payments and new reinforcement walls and that kind of stuff. in turn, we saw to it that Atlas had a program to operate from. So we worked well together, and I would even include the tribe in on that because I know you gave Atlas the money to do the things they did. It all seemed to work together at a time where I felt like every entity involved in helping our alcoholics and drug people was really meeting a need in this community. There's AA meetings, and Fatherhood is Sacred and Motherhood is Sacred programs have meetings down there almost 3 or 4 nights a week. And there used to be a situation where the people from the hospital and one of your close relatives used to chaperone them to the house, to the church on Sundays and take them back to the DDU. That's stopped, and the people, those people in need don't come to the hospital anymore. Bottom line is, Atlas has been good for the Reformed Church. The Reformed Church has been good for the Atlas program, and the tribe in what they gave us this past year has been good for both of us. And that kind of has dried up since COVID money is no longer in place. And when Donna first mentioned to me that she knew of this grant that was just sitting idle, I didn't know the guidelines for it and that they weren't eligible for those kind of dollars when this first started. Today is the first time I found out that Atlas don't meet the requirements. But, you know, that shouldn't stop the tribe from wanting to meet those requirements. I'm just saying that in a humble way.
Thanks, Kenny.
I'd like to clear up one thing. HCCDC did help Atlas. We wrote a grant together with Brian Mathers and administration for Native Americans. And there was the board of directors letter of support in that grant. So there are people trying to help us, that other entities in this community that see what we do and are trying to help us. It's not like, and we work well with the head of case managers over at the hospital to get our people the services they need. So to say that people don't want to work with us is just not true.
Okay, well, they didn't say, they said that to me then.
So, kind of going in all kinds of different directions here. Talked about the church, talked about Atlas, we talked about the alcohol program, talked about the hospital, and how these all are supposed to be working together, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to follow you guys here. I think the number one thing is that
Our people.
all of our people with the alcohol program. I had to leave on that meeting when 12 Clans was giving an update to the council. But one of the questions that I was going to ask in that meeting was the status of the alcohol program, and how do we get that moving, and where does that sit today? So I'll have to go kind of visit and seek that answer out. It might have been talked about in that meeting. I don't know. I wasn't there. I ended up getting a call and having to head out. But that's to me, that's the number one thing, is getting these people help when they're willing to set that stuff down in their lives. It's about timing, and it's about having the doors ready to be opened when they walk in the door and starting the process. There was it's about $10,000 per head for a bed. If you have $10,000, if I had $10,000 in my pocket, I could go to a treatment facility and I could take somebody over there right now. So one of the main excuses that we always run into, or one of the things that we always run into, roadblocks, speed bumps, whatever you want to call it, is that saying we're waiting for a bed to be ready. One of the so wherever we're shopping to take our people for treatment isn't far enough out. We're not expanding. You know, I think we only use NEBSAC, Northeast Substance Alcohol Abuse Counseling, in the Panhandle. But I think there's a couple other places that the tribe could be using, and we need to get some of these people going. We need to jumpstart our programs and get them going again, because I see the tribe. There's the doers and the complainers, and there's some people that just don't have the support when they want to get something done. And myself, I really hate to see that 3/4 way house not being utilized. There's a lot of smart people at the hospital, but we need to figure out how do we get that going? Why is it sitting the way it's sitting? I've talked with some of the people at the alcohol program, and they're kind of wondering some of the same things. And so I was going to start posing that question to Denal and to some of the other people that have their hands in there. How do we get that going? How do we get that moving? And try to do it in a good way so everybody doesn't get stink and attitudes start coming up or anything.
Right.
But I wanted to try to see about running that through there. The getting these people to treatment and then getting them to that 3/4 way house. Sometimes I have a couple cousins that are close that I could send through that process, you know. And if it came down to it, I would be willing to go up there. Not that I drink; I haven't drank for a long time. Go up there and walk through there and say, "Okay, send me to treatment," and then at the same time see how the table deals with that. I would be willing to lead the way to treatment if there is a way. Right now, I do not know a way to get to people to treatment, is what I'm saying. And I think that's the other thing, is to being able to get these, showing these people, here's how you get help. Because right now, I have some buddies, some bros, some friends, whatever category you want to put them in, or if you want to, whatever you want to call them, that they would set it down, but there's not enough support here. I have relatives that have to drink every day because they have the shakes, and they'll get sick if they don't.
Yeah.
So trying to find that, and if you look at the statistics, some of the stuff that's gone on, we had a rough month. We had 5 people that were related to alcohol that died from alcoholism. And to try to find that way, how do we do that? I think it's going to take, like what Coley said, some more meetings. It's going to take the council to restrain themselves from going to bars, to going to casinos. We have to lead the way. And that way, if we have a sobriety here at this table, we're going to have sobriety in our community. But we as leaders have to lead that way. And if we're able to do that, then it's going to clear the way for the rest of the ones that are coming behind us. Because there's a lot of high school kids that in that age, that's when I started messing around with alcohol. And I started experimenting with drugs. Because of whatever reason, like Lorelai's talking about, the PTSD, all the things that added up in my life, that's why I started to turn to those kind of things. And so a part of that was, back at the time, was they had what they call a babes program, and they used stuffed animals to simulate different parts of life that were growing up, whether it was sexual assault, whether it was domestic violence in the home. And they went into the classrooms at a 3rd grade, 1st grade, 3rd grade level, kindergarten, all those different ones, and they simulated those. So when they did that with those little stuffed animals, they also made those kids that were in those situations feel comfortable and let them know that it was okay to talk about those kind of things. And once they did that and identified those kids that were actually into that, then they actually knew where to start helping what ones, because there's certain signs and certain things that came out. But today, I don't know if we have a program. I'm not aware of it. And if there is a program out there like that, then please make me aware of it so I can try to be a part of it. But we used to have assemblies through the school. And through that, some of the stuff that I've gone through myself, and I pick on myself, not trying to sit here and be selfish about everything, but just so I'm not bashing everybody else. That's real easy to do sometimes when you're sitting here. But what I'm saying is that when I was going through that and I would hear this program and these assemblies come and talk about things, about the uncomfortableness in the home, as far as being yelled at, being hit, being disciplined, whatever fancy word you want to spin it into, but being corrected. Those things are some of the things that when I would go around my family and they would start yelling, the volume of their voices would start coming up. Then I, as a child, could identify, hey, this isn't a good thing. I'm going to try to make my way out of this, whether it's leaving the room, leaving the conversation, or leaving the situation. Once I was able to do that, I became able to utilize that in a tool. And then notice those things. And that's the thing, is if we're able to educate some of the little children on these things, hey, it is okay to speak up, I think we'll have a lot more people that'll speak up as far as the children. We have a thing with sex offenders in Winnebago. We have a thing with alcohol. We have a thing with methamphetamines. We have a thing with homelessness. We have a lot of abandoned houses. All these things, you can take a walk around here and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Those are some of the things that we need to look at. Those are some of the things that people from this table should be into Washington, should be out there advocating for funding to come in here to support these programs, you know. So sometimes we get lost in the midst of all of this because we have so many things going on. So that's why I said we talked about all those things from the beginning: Atlas, alcohol program, the hospital, the church, everything. And so I wanted to know where we're at, what we're doing. Some of these days that we sit down here and we have these long meetings, they're long, they drain you mentally. You go home and you feel just exhausted. And then you see a little one smile on your face and they want to go to the park, and then you don't have no energy for it, so you got to find the energy to do it. But those are some of the things that I look at and I see, but we need to be able to identify that. So my question is how do we get that alcohol program a kickstart or re-jumpstart that thing and get it going? Myself, if I could have it my way, I would have the alcohol program come in and sit down with the council and say, what is it that you see? And then I would call the admin that run the alcohol program and say, what is it that you see? Okay, now let's figure out how do we do this. Let's figure out how much money we have. Let's figure out a plan where we want to go. Because you can't take a trailer and two horses and run it down the road when the horses are running in the opposite direction. The trailer's going to split in half. The buggy's going to split in half. You got to work together as a team. If you're able to do that, then you're able to go in one direction, and hopefully that's a good direction. So bringing all those things together, looking at all of those, all the things that we got going on. And July is a real busy month for the Winnebago tribe. There's a
Right.
lot of good things that happen. So we have a lot of that, and sometimes we get to the point to where we get caught up in the good moments and we forget about some of the things that are going on. I'm not saying this table does that all the time, but sometimes we all kind of do that. So we're trying to find that balance. Each one of us, we lose that balance in our lives. That's why we become addicted to substance and alcohol and drugs, all of those things. If we were able to walk in balance and harmony, we wouldn't have these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. I just wanted to say also that, I'm not meaning to point fingers at anybody, but I want us to work together for the betterment of our people. That's what I want. That's what the Atlas board wants. That's what everybody that comes through the Atlas store, if we could immediately help, reach out and get them help, that would be wonderful. But we don't have that now, like Isaac's saying, and for them, without detox, trying to get sober or clean, it's just unimaginable. We don't know what that feels like, but for them, it's just, they can't even imagine how to do that. And there's nobody to help them.
So, what would the council like to do in terms of supporting Atlas? Because what the Atlas is requesting in terms of the DOJ grant, based on the meeting we had with WCHS, it didn't seem like at that time there was support or discussion to make that happen, as you've indicated. Kenny?
Tori, I remember a few years ago that Atlas used to be part of the tribe's appropriations.
No, it never was. Several years ago, LaDonna had asked for mileage for herself, and the tribe honored that and gave appropriation to Atlas specifically for that.
We,
Yeah. Make a comment as a board member.
Sure.
When I joined the Atlas board and became its treasurer, then I found that I would need to apply to the tribe for an appropriation on a yearly basis. And in 2021, the tribe gave an appropriation of $24,200, and in 16,685 at a request that we made for appropriation. And so
So is this an
separate from-
appropriations request, or is this about the, that's for the shelter?
No, the shelters are a separate 501c3. Atlas has made its own request for appropriation over the last several years and has been awarded an appropriation. And I made a request in April so that it would be known by the council by the June meeting and so forth for this fall, as instructed by Alan Post to do. And separate from, we're always looking for ways to support what Atlas does with a variety of grants, and that's how the CTAS came to our attention. And now realizing that we are not eligible because of our particular situation, are there other avenues, other grants available that the tribe knows of, or other avenues within the tribe that would support us? Some of the things that Atlas has done, not only the emergency food pantry we run, and we're very appreciative of the MOU we had for the CARES grant, because that allowed us to basically feed the community for a year. But Atlas also supplies furniture distribution, helping people apply for Medicaid. They allow public computer use, information on a variety of things. We're a mailbox for people, job employment assistance, people needing to use the phone, letting people know that they are eligible or not for the homeless shelters. Motherhood is Sacred, helping people apply for EBT, helping people apply for Social Security, Healthy Boundaries, which is a program that goes beyond AA to the next step of how to live a sober life, helping them with paperwork that they need for various other programs. So in trying to help people who fall between other programs, that's what we're always seeking, other places that we can get support for that. And so separate from the request to be part of the CTAS, as a board member not involved with the alcohol program, I would just like to present that and see if there are other ways that the tribe can help us help our people.
Okay.
The-
If there's a formal request, that should be on the treasurer's report agenda.
Okay, well, I make the formal letter, the formal request to Alan Post's office.
Okay,
Okay,
it should be to Treasurer Steeler.
okay. And, I was trying to get Alan, but I think he's off today. When the appropriation letter came through, I asked Alan, I said, do we ever have appropriations for Atlas? He said, only with the CARES Act, and that was the last couple years. But those funds are gone now, that we don't. The only reason that we gave money to Atlas was because of the CARES Act and the ARPA funds, and that was it.
What about
No,
the
that's-
appropriations that were in the years before?
I just went in and asked Cheryl, and she says, we still give Atlas appropriations.
How much and for what?
Well, there was,
I didn't go into details with her, I
Separate-
just wanted to answer
okay,
the first question.
the CARES money was 147,000 plus the 25,000 for the trucks, for the box truck. But prior to that, and I just did in November of 20, we were appropriated $16,685. And in October of 21, we were appropriated $24,200, and that was not our.
Excuse me, Nancy, I don't think wasn't the nature of the request or it just, so we're getting away from what we talked about, which was the grant. And so Rona wasn't prepared and wasn't asked to bring any historical data today. So I don't think it's appropriate that you're spouting off numbers that our treasurer has not had a chance to reference. And in the future, Alan Post is not your point of contact, it's Rona. And so Lorelei.
I've been a grant writer for 40 years for 501c3s. So why aren't you seeking funding? There's foundation funds, there's church funds. If you can report your numbers, why aren't you seeking funds? There is funding out there. And especially since you're a 501c3. I don't know why it's just the Winnebago tribe when there could be other, additional funds raised by these other that are happy to give. And so I just don't know why you're not, since you're a 501c3, they're going to want an audit report. When you put in as a 501c3 to any church groups, foundations, other kinds of funds, they're going to say, we want to see your last audit. And you're going to have to submit numbers. Like in this year, we did this and this many numbers. And so those are all documents that have to be part of when a 501c3 is submitting. And so I'm just saying that, just for instance, I have never seen an audit report from Atlas.
We have them.
And if you have an audit report and you want to somehow make a MOU or whatever, we want to see the audit report. I do.
Well, you can get.
And as a 501c3, you have to file to the IRS
Yes.
every year. All of those things are to keep your 501c3. So I'm just bringing up things that are possibilities down the road here, but there's nothing preventing Atlas as a 501c3 from raising your own dollars.
Well, it is
Thank you.
because, yeah, Lorelei, it is because of our financial credibility. We have applied for grants. And because we basically operate like a personal checkbook, we don't have the financial credibility. That's why we went to Brian Mathers to submit this last grant that we applied for. So we have tried. So that's why we had to do that, because we don't have the financial credibility to apply for that. So we have tried, and we do have one in. And hopefully that'll happen. But if that happens, that'll just give us more to work with. I did call the administration for Native Americans last week, and they said they're so backed up that they're not going to hear nobody's going to hear anything till September.
Just the other day, somebody asked me, "What's your plans for the weekend?" I was like, "No idea. I'm just a cook and I pay for everything." Jokingly, So I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what my plans are, but I know, I'll be cooking, and I gotta pay for everything. So I don't. And honestly, just last week, a young man approached me, my neighbor. He needed a fridge, so I said, "Go see Atlas." I know they had, from the past, the Reformed Church Reverend. He has those connections for furniture and stuff. So I don't know, if they got that accomplished. And there was a few other
We did.
few other times, good. A few other times, somebody needed help, and my first thought was go to Atlas. And to me, that, we've been talking about this. We have, this what was it? The tribal member support service worker, and that's what they're doing. You just heard that little report how they help people with EBT and so on. People can go to these people and they're getting help, and however they're rewarded for helping these people, that's going to come to them, and we need to see that and see those reports. Maybe we need to see those reports in our hands and read them every day, how much you guys are helping our people, and I'm going to say it again, I agree. Maybe we do need a meeting. There should be a meeting with the hospital, 12 clans board, or the administration, alcohol, Atlas, and what's their plans for the future? Anything different to try and help these people with alcoholism? Oh boy, we all know that's a problem. We have a big problem with that, and that's our main problem, is that alcohol, drugs, and diabetes. That's our main problems, and I was joking, I think Louis left, but me and, I'd volunteer to go lay in that hospital bed for a year, if we can get our accreditation back, and to help that way, but I do agree we need to give them time to come up with their plan on paper, what we're going to be doing for the future to make this program, this problem with our people, and help all our people in every aspect of their needs, to be there to help them, to sponsor them, to fund them. And like I said, I get back to that tribal member support worker that we've been trying to talk about and hire, if it comes out of appropriations, if there's IDC money, I don't know. Maybe that's a program that Atlas could pick up, and that could fall in line with the alcohol program and helping our people to get led into treatment, and to get help. Because I heard a bunch of stuff, how much they helped them with, like I said again, EBT and so on, doing all that paperwork and pointing them, and probably doing the paperwork for them, for our people, our relatives. So I guess I would like to have a meeting, set up a meeting, and for their plan, for the alcohol program's plan, for 12 clans, plan for the future, for this, for these programs to help the people. I guess especially with the alcoholism that we deal with.
Well, and we need to think about fentanyl. Fentanyl's coming. When that gets here, I'm scared just even mentioning that. But we have to find a way to work together. So that's really why we're here. We're here to offer our help because we know how to do it. And Lorelei, what you were talking about, that's exactly what we were doing with our people. Because after we get them to open up, and then we can just listen to them, and they get that out, and then they feel so much better. So we've done all those things, and we keep doing them. And our Fatherhood and Motherhood Coalition will be strong involved with Atlas. But, everybody needs to make a living, so.
Okay, I just talked to Alan here. He just made it in the office. He said there is no appropriations. It's been donations, but we don't even know what for or what it was spent on. So, I do really think we need a meeting to sit down and plan. Because if we donated to one program, to one church program, then we should be donating to all church programs the same amount of money. That's just my opinion. And whatever services that they provide to the community. So from this point, I'd like to suggest we do a meeting with the board, the full board, and
Which board?
this Atlas board.
Okay.
What board are we addressing here?
Yeah.
Is it Atlas or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
out.
So,
Well, we're
council
also
meet
talking about-
council and Atlas board, because since they're the ones that receive this funding, and work from there. Because as like I said, it was a donation, it wasn't appropriations, and there was no report on what it was for or whatever you guys did with it. So, I just like to make a motion to go ahead and schedule a meeting, sit down with the Atlas board and tribal council, and what I'd like to see is, because I don't have any history, because Atlas was before I came to this table, what your goals and objectives were, and how were you supposed to sustain and provide these services? By donations, like Lorelei said, applying for grants, and or is it just always coming to the council and asking for money? And so I think through that, we have paperwork to pull together, you have paperwork to pull together, and we'll have Teresa get a hold of you guys and schedule a meeting so we can get all on the same page. Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second to set up that meeting?
Second.
Second by Eric. Discussion. So my question in discussion is, and I know this, I guess I didn't know what the gals were talking about was those donations, because you guys were saying tribal appropriations. But at the time when we talked about those donations, we wanted to make sure that there was equity and that all the churches in town got a portion of that so that they could use it for their programming or their repairs and things. So if we set up a meeting with Atlas Board, do we have to set up a meeting with the other boards? I mean, I guess if we're going to start giving money to all the churches, then it needs to be all the churches.
The church is separate from Atlas. The monies are not combined in any way. We're not part.
But is it a faith denomination, or what is Atlas?
Yeah, that's why I asked for the incorporation.
in the Reformed Church basement.
But what does Atlas stand for?
Attaining truth, love, and self-control.
So how did we even get an Atlas chapter? I guess I don't know about Atlas. I'll learn a lot that day. How did we get an Atlas chapter here?
Well, like I mentioned, it was, and it's before me too. Nikki Solomon, Nola Alberts, Keith Chamberlain, they're the founding members. So they're the ones that brought Atlas here. And Atlas originated in Orange City because of somebody, a man named Jerry Keefe. He's seen that people that need just a little bit of help aren't getting it. You know how that goes. You need to have a shut-off notice. You need to have an eviction notice. And that's the way the government works. But there's people that needed just a little bit of help, probably maybe with groceries. Well, anyway, so that's how it was founded. And to date, there's 13 different Atlas programs. And they're supported by their community. We've been allowed to apply for grants because we're not a prosperous community. So that's a little bit about how that started.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with me. So I guess we'll learn more, and at that meeting, and we can try to come together. Is there any further discussion on that meeting?
No, but I'd just like to ask one question, because I've just been hearing this. I don't know if it's true, but does the Winnebago tribe support the Urban Indian Health Center in Sioux City?
That's not part of the motion. So we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion regarding the motion? Objection to the motion? We have one object. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye or signify by raising your hand. Lorelei?
Aye.
Rona? Eric? Coley, do you raise your hand? Coley? Brian, are you voting? I opposed? Abstention? Are you abstaining? Opposed or abstain? Abstentions? We got motion carried 4-1-0. I don't think Brian voted. Okay, so we will get that set up and work with Teresa on that. The next, thank you for coming and sharing that information with us, and one step closer to building understanding.
Yeah. Well, is that meeting going to be this month?
I'll have to work with Teresa to get that scheduled.
We have to look.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Council.
So the next item, Council, I had asked for an executive session, and I had originally had kind of other, I thought the executive session would roll out in a different way, and that has changed this morning. So I would just like an opportunity to talk to Council and ask and determine if they would like to move forward and in which manner. So is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
We have a motion by Brian. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Any discussion? Objection to the motion? Motion carried.
Will there be a separate link?
Yes, separately. No. Okay. Well, since we're not coming back, we could just stay in this and they could disconnect everybody else. Does that work? Okay. Brian, we're not going to get a new link. We're just going to stay in this one. Eric, hang out. We're going to stay in this one.
Okay.
And so the live stream is going to end right now. So thank you to our membership who tuned in, and we're going to enter executive session and adjourn from there.